figure of the 60s, was now concentrating full-time on her acting career and appeared alongside John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd in the hit film The Blues Brothers. She also starred as Eliza Doolittle in the Yorkshire television adaptation of George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion opposite Robert Powell.
It was the first major production of Pygmalion, which was the right way round. The audience genuinely were watching a girl and they didn't know whether she was going to be able to speak properly. They didn't know. Diana Rigg did Eliza Doolittle, and she was wonderful as the Cockney, but we all knew she can speak posh. So there was no, you know, at the tea party, you know, there's, oh dear, very funny, but there's no surprise. And I think that's what we achieved uniquely with Twigs, that the audience must have been going, can she do it?
I just thought, what a great part for me. You know, like you do as an actress. So I rang my London agent and I said, look, do you think we could get somebody to do this? And she said, leave it with me, and within a week she came back, and lovely David Cunliffe at Yorkshire TV, which is a great company, said they'd love to do it. They cast Robert Powell as my Higgins, and we shot it up in Leeds. And we did it like a play because we were on tape, which on one side was sad because obviously film's much more beautiful, but by doing it on tape we could shoot it like a play, which was quite scary because I'd never done a full-length play, so we had to, it wasn't like filming where you did 2 minutes and stopped. We shot it in acts, so I had to learn it. And I was fine in the Cockney stuff, but I had to go to a voice coach for the upper class stuff.
Every morning, it was just like Professor Higgins and Eliza. For an hour, every morning, before rehearsal, we had talking lessons. We coached. And we got Twigs, you know, literally. The rain in Spain falls mainly in the plain. And we actually, you know, in Hertfordshire, hurricanes hardly ever happen. We did it with her.
It was thrilling, and it was when I realised not only do I love singing and dancing, but, you know, I want to do more of this. I want to do more wonderful plays that are written by the masters.
So as Twiggy spent her days in the north of England perfecting her diction, her co-star and the boyfriend Tommy Tune was back in North America working on an idea that would bring Twiggy back to Broadway.
So Tommy went back to New York and he got into directing, theatre directing. And over a period, well, he went back in like 70, must have been about 72, 73. And in the next 10 years, he became the hottest Broadway director. I think he's got so many Tonys, he can wear a necklace and a crown. Tonys being Tony Awards for directing. I mean, I can't list them all. Best Little Whole House in Texas, Cloud 9, I mean, it just ends. He, I have to say, is one of the great theatre directors of all time. And then in the end of '82, I got a call from Tommy saying, I think I've got our project going. And I presumed he meant a film, because that's what we'd been working on all those years before. And I said, oh, great, you know, really? When do we start filming? And he said, well, it's not on film. We're going to do it as, you know, a Broadway show. And I said, what, you mean on stage? Performing on stage 8 times a week? He said, yeah. I said, I can't do that.
And I said, why not? She said, I'd be afraid to walk on the stage. So I said, okay, so I waited a few years, and then I heard she had done a Cinderella pantomime, a Christmas panto. And so I called her and said, is it true that you did Cinderella and Christmas panto? And she said, yes. I said, you said you'd be too afraid to walk on the stage. She said, oh, I figured that out. I was sitting on a stool and they raised the curtain and I was already there. She's very practical. So I said, well, what about doing a Broadway show now? She said, oh yeah, I'll do it now. I said, you'll do it now? And she said, yeah. So that's how my one and only came into being.
For me, it's the greatest experience of my career and the thing I'm the most proud of. Because, you know, to go out 8 times a week in front of a major Broadway audience and fill the house is very thrilling.
In her Broadway debut, she was nominated for Best Actress in a Musical. I would say that's a hit.
In 1983, Twiggy and Tommy Tune were invited to take part in the Royal Variety performance.
Ladies and gentlemen, to introduce our next act is Sir Laurence Olivier. And I nearly screamed. And And it was amazing because he'd been quite sick actually, and he got out of bed to come and introduce us. And he got up and said, I paraphrase, but it was something like, when you come from Neasden, Broadway seems an impossible place to reach or something. But this young lady did it, and here are the hottest thing on four legs, Twiggy and Tommy Tune.
Twiggy had now been married to Michael Whitney for many years, but his alcoholism was becoming unbearable, and for the sake of her daughter Carly, she decided to separate from him. While spending a day in New York with Carly, Michael had a sudden and fatal heart attack.
I was in training, oh well, I was rehearsing for My One and Only. I was in New York. By then, it was apparently he had a major drink problem, which we tried to conquer between us. We'd been together for 10 years. And sometimes he'd go for months and be fine, and then, as with most alcoholics, unless they deal with the problem, any excuse to have a drink, be it to celebrate something or to drown one's sorrows. And in the acting business, you know, if you don't get a part, you drink. If you get a part, you drink. You know, it's one of those. And I think with me rehearsing the play in New York, it became very hard for him.